The church clock strikes 1, startling Scrooge, who awakes in mid-snore. Glad to be awake, he hopes to comfort the second spirit just as it arrives. The echoes of the church bell fade, however, and no ghost appears, somehow disappointed. Scrooge waits for 15 minutes, after which a bright light begins to stream down upon him. Curious and a bit baffled, Scrooge pads into the other room where he finds the second spirit waiting for him. The figure, a majestic giant clad in green robes, sits atop a throne made of gourmet fist. In a booming voice, the spirit announces himself as the ghost of Christmas present. He tells Scrooge that he has more than 1,800 brothers, and his lifespan is a mere single day. The spirit orders Scrooge to touch his robe. Upon doing so, the feast and the room vanish instantly, and Scrooge finds himself alongside the spirit in the midst of the bustling city on Christmas morning. Blissful, absurdly, take pleasure into the wondrous sights and smells abounding through the shop doors. People merrily shovel snow, tote bag of presents, and greet one another with a cheery "Merry Christmas!" The spirit then takes Scrooge to the meager home of Bob Cratchit, where Mrs. Cratchit and her children prepare a Christmas goose and savor the few Christmas treats they can afford. The oldest daughter, Martha, returns from her job at Milliner's. The oldest son, Peter, wears a stiff colorated shirt, a hand-me-down from his father. Bob comes in carrying the crippled young tyke, Tiny Tim, on his shoulder. The family is more than content despite the skimpy Christmas feast. Scrooge begs to know whether Tiny Tim will survive. The spirit replies that given the current conditions in the Cratchit house, there will be inevitably an empty chair at next year's Christmas dinner. The spirit takes Scrooge to a number of other Christmas gatherings, including festivities of an isolated community of miners and a party aboard a ship. He also takes Scrooge to a Fred's Christmas party, where Scrooge loses himself in the Norman's Party's game and has a wildly entertaining time, though none of the party guests can actually see him. As the night unfolds, the ghost grows older. At last, Scrooge and the ghost come to a vast and desolate expanse. Here, the ghost shows Scrooge a pair of starving children who travel with him beneath his robes. Their names are Ignorance and Want. Scrooge inquires if nothing can be done to help them. Mockingly, the ghost quotes Scrooge's early retort. Are there no prisons? Are there no workhouses? The spirit disappears as the clock strikes midnight and Scrooge eyes a hooded phantom coming toward him. The phantom, a menacing figure clad in black hooded robe, approaches Scrooge. Scrooge involuntarily kneels before him and asks if he is the ghost of Christmas yet to come. The phantom doesn't answer, and Scrooge screams in terror, still reeling from the revelatory experiences with the last two spirits. Scrooge pleads with the ghost to share his lesson, hopeful that he may avoid the fate of his deceased partner. The ghost takes Scrooge to a series of strange places. The London Stock Exchange, where a group of businessmen discuss the death of a rich man. A dingy pawn shop in the London slum, where a group of vagabonds and shady characters sell some personal effects stolen from a dead man. The dinner table of a poor family, where a husband and his wife express relief at the death of an unforgiving man to whom they owed money. And the Cratchit household, where the family struggles to cope with the death of Tiny Tim. Scrooge begs to know the identifying of the dead man's, exasperated in his attempts to understand the lesson of the silent ghost. Suddenly, he finds himself in a churchyard, where the spirit points him toward a freshly dug grave. Scrooge approaches the grave and reads the description of their headstone. Ebenezer Scrooge. Appalled, Scrooge clutches at the spirits and begs him to undo the events of his nightmarish vision. He promises to honor Christmas from deep within his heart and to live by the moralizing lesson of the past, present, and future. The spirit's hand begins to tremble, and as Scrooge continues to cry out of mercy, the phantom's robe shrinks and collapses. Scrooge again finds himself returned to the relative safety of his own bed.